It's 5:30 a.m. on Saturday, August 19th, 2023, and I find myself making a drive that seems all too familiar with the timing, but I'm definitely not going to a familiar place. As I had explained in the description of my previous video, I have now moved out to Arizona to start flight training for new life opportunities, and being in Arizona, the nearest steam operation is the Grand Canyon Railway. And on this Saturday, I made the trek up to Williams to chase their 282 Mikado, number 4960, on a round-trip excursion from Williams to the Grand Canyon and back. Upon arriving in Williams at 7:45 a.m., there was a little bit of activity at the station, but not much as the train hadn't been pulled in for the day. And knowing from previous research, the 4960 will come down from the shops around 8:15, I moved over to the Rodeo Rd crossing at 8 a.m. And sure enough, at 8:15, 4960 came backing down from the shops to hook up to its train for the day. After hooking on to its full consist and pulling the train out of the servicing yard, 4960 backed down its train for the day onto the Williams Depot spur. By the time the backup move had completed, it was 8:45 a.m. and most of the passengers on board today's train had now arrived at the depot. So as boarding begins, let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into the 4960. Grand Canyon Railway 4960 is a 282 Mikado type steam locomotive built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in August of 1923 for the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad. It was used by the CB&Q in revenue service until 1958, when the locomotive was moved to excursion service as part of the CB&Q's steam program. In July of 1966, the CB&Q ended their steam program, and the 4960 then bounced around through a couple of owners before ending up being purchased by the newly formed Grand Canyon Railway in 1989. Over the next 7 years, the 4960 went through an extensive overhaul process and debuted for the Grand Canyon Railway in July of 1996. Since then, it has pulled trains for the Grand Canyon Railway and currently operates on a first Saturday of the month schedule during the peak season, running between March and October every year. And since August 2023 was 4960's 100th birthday, the Grand Canyon Railway opted to operate the engine for 3 Saturdays during the month instead of just the first Saturday, with this Saturday, the 19th, being the 3rd. And right on schedule at 9:30, 4960 eased ahead with its train full of passengers bound for the Grand Canyon. And before this chase gets fully underway, I also want to note the whistle on the 4960. Which is a Santa Fe 6 chime, which behind the CB&Q 5 chime on 148, this one is just as good. one more thing to note as the train departs. You may or may not have been able to tell from the video angle, but there's no crew inside the diesel. That's because the Grand Canyon Railway has a special MU cable that they've designed specifically for their steam operations so that the crew can control the diesel from the cab of the 4960. Now about 10 minutes into our northward trek out of Williams, we're at Pronghorn Ranch Road, about 5 miles north of where we started, and here we get the 4960 coming through a large sweeping curve, and the crew is just hitting the throttle as the engine comes into frame. After getting the short pacing shot near Espee Rd, I raced north to Latigo Rd, where I knew the train would be at full throttle coming up the grade. And I was not disappointed at all, as the 4960 is throttle wide open for this shot. I definitely recommend turning your speakers up for this one. After Latigo Rd, I broke off from my northbound chase of 4960, as it wasn't in my plans for the day to follow all the way to the canyon, especially when you have to pay to get into the Grand Canyon, and there is a very limited number of shots north of Latigo. So I went back down to the BNSF Transcon and saw a bunch of trains on there, including this ballast train that was heading west towards Los Angeles. After about 5 hours on the BNSF Transcon, it was time to head back north along Arizona Route 64 to get ready for the southbound chase of 4960. I decided to make a little bit more of an effort than I did on the northbound chase. I went as far north as Willaha for my first southbound shot. to warn you though, especially if you go to Willaha, a lot of the roads leading to the locations of railroad crossings on the Grand Canyon Railway involve driving along dirt roads, and especially for Willaha, where I had to follow this dirt road for 8 miles each way from the highway to get to the crossing. As mentioned before, there aren't really a whole lot of spots on the Grand Canyon Railway north of Latigo, and Willaha was the next closest point, and I had to drive 28 miles between Willaha and the shot here at Latigo Rd, and I still only beat the train by about a minute thanks to them stopping for the little fake robbery that they do on every southbound run. Continuing our chase, we're now 11.5 miles further south at Espee Rd, a relatively easy shot to do thanks to the highway paralleling the tracks in this area. And in terms of light, this also ended up being the best shot of the day, and I was thrilled to have the sun out for this particular spot. And for my next shot, we're at Pronghorn Ranch Road again, just outside of Williams. And quite honestly, I didn't even think I was going to make this shot, so I was really pleased that I was able to beat the train to this location. And to conclude this very successful chase, we make our final catch of the train at the Williams Depot as the 4960 leads in to complete its round trip to the Grand Canyon. While the mainline chase is done for the day, it's not necessarily the end of my day with the 4960. After the train had parked and all the passengers had disembarked, the crew has to turn the train around to prepare it for tomorrow's run. And since 4960 was only running today, an additional step they would have to do is bring the 4960 back down to the shops, which meant I was able to get a few more run-bys of the train, starting off as they backed out from the depot in Williams. Conveniently enough, the stem of the Y is at Rodeo Rd, so I went down there to watch the rest of the operations as they put the train away for the day. And after parking the passenger consist in the servicing track for the night, the 4960 came back down the Y to head towards the locomotive servicing shop to have the fire put out for the day. This was overall a fantastic first experience on the Grand Canyon Railway, especially with the 4960, and I look forward to coming back many times to chase this operation in the future. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.